Now after studying about the structure of brain, it is necessary that how does it respond. In order to understand this process, it is necessary to understand about reflex action and reflex arc. Before understanding this process, let us understand the basic that what is actually reflex action. Reflex action is considered as a monotonous which can be said as unchangeable, that is cannot change, response to a particular stimulus. Now this stimulus can be either voluntary or involuntary. According to this, the reflex action can also be performed in response to voluntary action and involuntary action, and therefore an involuntary response to stimulus by the reflex center of the brain or spinal cord. Without the knowledge of voluntary centers, definitely voluntary centers of the brain, then such an action will be known as reflex action. Accordingly, animals show mainly two types of reflex action. First, voluntary and second, involuntary. Voluntary action can be described as the action that is performed willingly by the animal. An involuntary action, reflex action, can be described as the action which is very quick or without any choice or unwillingly by the animal. Thus, these two actions are totally opposite of each other. For example, various actions in our day-to-day life comes under voluntary and involuntary action. As said, the action that is willingly performed by the animal, that is voluntary action, can be described as on seeing a leopard moving onto the way or running away is considered voluntary reflex action. On the contrary, involuntary means the actions like cuffing, then seeing, blinking of the eyes, these actions are performed unwillingly by the animal and therefore they are considered as involuntary reflex action. Now how does this reflex action occurs? In order to understand this, it is necessary to understand about the reflex arc and mechanism. Reflex arc is considered as the nerve chain between the receptor and effector organ, which helps in carrying out the reflex action. Out of this, the receptor of the neurons receives a stimulus which is sent to the effector organ. This receptor neuron is also known as afferent nerve fiber. That is, these nerve fibers carry the stimulus from the receptor organ. And the effector organ is termed as efferent nerve fiber. This figure depicts the reflex action process. As it can be seen from the figure, the receptor organ which possess stimulus is carried by the sensory neurons towards the brain or spinal cord. These sensory neurons, which are efferent nerve fibers, carry the stimulus towards the brain or neurons, which interprets them and processes, resulting into signals that are emitted by a motor neuron to the effector organ, that is via efferent nerve fibers to the effector organ. In this manner, the brain or the spinal cord is considered as the modulator and the effector organ is considered as the muscle portion, which receives impulses and executes it or responds to it. Thus, the reflex action moves in a unidirectional manner, that is single direction. Therefore, the unidirectional path of the reflex action occurs in the following manner. That is, first, stimulus is received by sensory neuron of receptor organ. Now the stimulus that is received by sensory neuron is transferred to efferent nerve fiber, which transfers the stimulus to the interneuron, which further leads into the brain or spinal cord, where the processing of this stimulus occurs. Thus, this processed stimulus is transferred to the efferent nerve fibers, where the stimulus is already processed, where it carries in the form of nerve impulses towards the effector organ. where the action gets performed. The main importance of this reflex action is that it enables the animal to respond quickly to the harmful stimuli. That is the stimuli which is not acceptable to the body of animal, and thereby it saves the animal from the harmful effect. Now we will start with the study of reflex action and reflex arc. A reflex arc basically consists of a receptor, a sensory nerve or an efferent nerve fiber, an association neuron or interneuron, a motor nerve, efferent or an effector organ. The receptor may be a single cell or a group of cells. They receive information about stimuli and generate various electrical potential. The sensory nerve is associated with the receptor, which carries the information in the form of electrical impulses from the receptor organ to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, the sensory nerve makes connection with the other neurons in the gray matter. As a result, these neurons formed are called interneurons or association neurons. These neurons process the information and generate responses. The efferent fibers of motor nerve generally carry these responses from the interneurons to the effector organ, which is usually a muscle. As a result, these muscles contract